Welcome to the Two Good Dudes podcast. I'm your host, Cody Wilson, with Javi Alonso. Javi, what we got going on today?
Well, today we're going to be asking and answering the question of who the heck are these two good dudes, right?
Who are they?
Yeah, who are they? I think one thing that all the listeners, everyone that doesn't know us here in the community, question I would ask is, who the heck are they?
Yeah.
And how did they meet? So, do you remember when we met?
I'll be honest. The first time I saw Javi's name, Javi Alonso, it was on Wodify, and the dude was fast. Like,
A little louder for the people that didn't hear that.
Javi could run, and I was just like, dang it, man. Any workout that involved like running, and let's be honest, without super heavy or super technical weight at the time, like I was like, man, this guy is moving. And then I started wondering if he was even real. Like is he fudging or lying on his reps? Like, that was my real thing. And then like there was one workout where he had, there were a bunch of push-ups and pull-ups, and I was like, there's no way this guy's lying. Like, that is way too fast. So that's the first time I remember seeing your name. I don't remember the first time I actually like met you in the gym. I know it had to have been in the gym when you started showing up at CrossFit Obey, but I don't remember the specific like day. I remember you being in some classes that I was in, and obviously saying hey, but I don't remember like. Do you?
I don't either. It kind of just feels like it just happened, right? We just became buddies like that,
yeah.
Right? What I remember is same thing. I would see your score on Wodify always up at the top, and I'm like, I'm coming after this guy. Who is this guy? And the competition. And I knew you were Cade's brother, and I met Cade probably the second time I went to Obey, dropped in. And I wasn't a CrossFitter by no means when I dropped into Obey, so I was just a little scrub. And I dropped in and I met Cade first. And yeah, I knew you were his brother, but I don't remember specifically what day. It must have been in class or one of the classes.
I don't even remember how we started hanging out. If we go back to like our friends, like, so if we go back to the McConies, I remember starting to hang out with them, and that was because we went and helped Taylor. Yeah. Because them dogs, while Blake was gone, the dogs were digging holes under their fence, and you were like, "Hey, can you come help us?" Yeah. And that was kind of like the snowball of like hanging out with them. Yeah. More. I'd met them before, but that just kind of led to that. Yeah. And then, but I don't remember.
Yeah. I've been here 3 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've known each other about 3 years now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dang, time flies.
It does. Dude, that is kind of crazy that it's been 3 years.
Isn't it crazy that, like, you spend so much time with somebody or you just interact with them so much that you can't think of that first time? Like, yeah. And I have, like, there's certain people that I have in my life that's how it feels. Like, I feel like as soon as I met them, I've known them for years.
No doubt.
So, like, I think you were one of those guys that I saw in the gym and I was like, oh, I'm going to hit it off. I just already know. And that's why it's such a blur in my mind to go back to when we first met, because in my mind, I feel like I've known you forever.
Right. No, yeah. I agree 100%. Yeah, it's crazy. And getting to know you, it's kind of crazy we hadn't met before. Yeah. In a previous life, but I'm glad to know you.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I think it was the right time to meet you, and it was comfortable. And I've really enjoyed, watching our friendship grow, and it's been a lot of fun.
So let's throw it back here. Let's go from where it all started. Where'd you grow up?
Groesbeck, Texas.
Groesbeck, Texas.
Yeah, you say that and people start, that must be a small town, because you sound really kind of country when you say that. Yeah. And so, Groesbeck, Texas, about, I don't know, there's probably 4,500 people there. And if you include the areas around there, we were a 3A school when 5A was the biggest. So we weren't real large. I think there was 135 kids in my graduating class. Grew up there, and most of my family's there.
Your parents grew up there too?
Both parents grew up there. My dad's parents both graduated high school from Groesbeck, both of them.
Wow.
My mom's parents, neither one did. I think her father was maybe in Mejia, and then
which is
close. It's 15 minutes from Groesbeck. Yeah. And then I'm not sure. Her mom was like somewhere in South Texas, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe Bloomington or something like that. They had moved around, and so, but they had been living in a small town around Groesbeck at the time. So my mom grew up there the whole time. And, yeah. What about you?
Dude, I same situation. I've been in Central Texas my whole life. I grew up in Cameron, which is just a little bigger than Groesbeck. I would say it's about 5,000 now. We're 3A school too. My parents came over from Mexico when my older brother was 4. So it was like 4 years before I was born.
Okay.
So, they came here from Mexico, settled in Cameron, had me and my sister and my younger brother.
Do you know why they ended up in Cameron? Like, of all the places?
My uncle, my dad's brother, was already here.
Okay.
And he settled here, so they decided to come here too.
Yeah.
So it just worked out that way. But yeah, same thing. I've been in Central Texas my whole life.
That's cool.
Through and through. Like, I moved around I was in Waco for a little while, and we've discussed that. We were kind of in Waco at the same time, which is funny. The way God crazy. Works, He's like, "Oh, not yet. Well, I'll get them together eventually, but not yet." We were I was going to school, and you were at school too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were hanging out some of the same places
and everything, and never
came across each other.
Of all the people, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I would have thought we'd have run into each other a couple times, but
yeah.
You said brother. You have siblings, right?
I do. So I have an older brother. That's 37. An older older sister that's 36. It's me and my twin sister. We're around 30. 32.
When you live in College Station, anything over 25 is like you're getting old.
You're an old timer. And then I got a younger brother that just turned 30. So we're all older. What about you?
I'm the oldest. I'm 32 also.
Shout out.
Yeah. And then my younger brother is 31. And that's Cade. And then I got Emily, who is 28, I think is right. Yeah. 28. And then Alexi, the youngest, she's 25. Born in 96. Yeah, she's 25. And she is the by far favorite child.
Really?
Yeah, she's a special one. Growing up, she actually was diagnosed with autism, and I think they kind of moved it over to more of like a mental retardation thing. She can interact just fine with people, but when it comes to school and stuff like that, it was just a hard thing. Growing up, she had seizures, and we watched her struggle with that. That was a totally new thing to our family.
Yeah.
And but she is the coolest kid, and just a ton of fun. And so we all will gladly give her the favorite child name.
She is. She's sweet. Yeah, she's got a personality on
dude,
her.
she is a freaking trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a good one. So that's my family.
So y'all are all pretty close to age-wise for the most part, a couple years apart.
Yeah, within 7 years.
Did y'all play together as kids? Like
Cade and I did. Cade always went around with my friends. He always played with the kids that were older. I say he's only a year younger than us, but he always played with the guys that were in my class growing up, my grade. And Emily, she was, I guess because she was the little sister, she kind of got pushed out of that. She might have gotten picked on a little bit, to be honest with you. And then Lexi was the baby by that time. When you're 14 and she's 7, it's like, and I don't want to play with her that much, but we'd let her tag along occasionally.
So you and Cade would be playing with the rest of the kids and playing all that. Would y'all play in the neighborhood, like baseball, football, or what would y'all do?
We played everything. I mean, any and everything. We took kickball so freaking serious. It was ridiculous. We played kickball every day. So in my neighborhood, we grew up on a block in a small neighborhood, and there were, out of the 4 families that played, there were a ton of boys. So the Edgerleys had 4 kids. We had 4 kids. The Feeneys had 7, and the Dillons had 7.
Golly.
And on that back block, everybody had a go-kart. So we do go-kart races all the time. We were always outside. Everybody always come over to our house and play kickball. We had probably the thickest rule book for kickball for 10, 11-year-old kids. Lots of fights, you just get arguments all the time.
Yeah.
But tons of fun. And then as we grew older, those rules changed, and we'd make them adjust to our abilities, which was fun. Played hide and seek so much that we started calling it different names. We were like, we're tired of saying hide and seek. So one of the names that we'd call it was Pac-Man, because Pac-Man chases people around. So the person that's chasing people. So we started calling him Pac-Man.
Same here. We changed it to Manhunt.
Really? Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did that. We had forts. We did, one of the coolest things we did was there was this massive mound of dirt, like huge, and we put a tree house up in the top that was over it. There's a tree line, and so that was our crow's nest, right? And then in our fort, or I guess that mound of dirt, there was a couple entrances because it was overgrown, like tall weeds, and there was a couple booby traps set up. So we had like a 4-foot by 4-foot hole that was about 5 foot deep, with stuff laid over it that if somebody tried to walk in there, they'd fall.
Yeah.
We had underground tunnels dug out. Then they weren't, 10 feet underground. They were, this far, and we knew not to walk over them.
Yeah.
But we could start in one area, and we could crawl all the way to the back, and we'd act like if somebody's coming, obviously nobody's coming up to our clubhouse, but if a car was coming, like, car! And then we'd all dive in and run back to the bunker to hide and stuff like that. We were always outside.
Yeah.
Always.
Same here. So we had a house outside of town, out of Cameron. This small, it's another little, I guess it's a suburb of Cameron. It's called Ben Arnold. It's a small, there's 10 houses there. That was our block or whatever, our hood. And we had a clique too, not nearly as big as y'all's. We probably had 10 kids out there, all about the same age, and we did the same thing. One we didn't all have go-karts, but one of the set of kids had a go-kart, and we'd ride that sucker all day. Summertime, ride it all day. We'd be outside playing football all day long. So much to the point where my mom would come out and be like, "It's time to come home. Come on, come take a shower, come eat." I forget what time of day it was and all that. And dude, we did the same thing out there.
There were a couple of areas in our neighborhood that our neighborhood was kind of toward the edge of town, and so there was just a person's regular old pasture out there that had cows and whatever else that kind of bordered it, and so there was a couple open fields that had not been developed yet. And so what we did one day is we created our own little baseball field. We mowed it down, which it was nobody's land. It was just there, and it had grown up tall. So we mowed it down flat. We took some old stones that my mom had, walking, for walkways, just little square concrete stones. And we threw those down. We spray painted lines, base lines, and infield, outfield. We labeled it we field for the last names of the people that made it. So W and E, Wilson Edgerly, and then the Feeneys would come over there. And so we had that, and then we'd play baseball all the time. And it got so much, sometimes my dad would come home from work. He'd go out there and throw to us. And then anybody that hit a home run, he'd take us to go get snow cones.
Nice.
So it was really fun growing up in that atmosphere. Parents just kind of let us go and have fun and do our thing. And we, bikes were a big deal when we were kids too, right?
Yeah.
And because there were, maybe not because there were so many boys, but because I guess we all loved sports, it became super competitive with anything we did.
Yeah.
And I think that carried over. Basketball, we played basketball a ton. throw the ball up in the air, tackle them type stuff. Like, that thing. And so we got super competitive. And I think probably for every single one of us that were a part of that crew, like we were all super competitive going into middle school, high school, and so on.
Yeah.
So,
dude, you're lucky that Cade was just 1 year younger than you. Y'all are about the same age, right? Mm-hmm. So my older brother, he's 4 years older than I am. So no, 5 years older than I am. So there's a huge gap there. So like he didn't necessarily want to play with the teenage kids. He was already in high school, near high school, right? Mm-hmm. So I would hang out with the neighborhood kids, and they're more closer to my age. I was actually, now that I think about it, I was the youngest, and those boys were like a year older, 2 years older than me. Mm-hmm. But they would be the boys that I would play with, and they're the ones that got me tough, like playing football and like slamming the heck out of me, you know, but that toughened me up. And again, my older brother wasn't there to play with me because he was so much older, and my younger brother was a gamer. He's like, oh shoot, he literally was like, I mean, that's back in the day, like there wasn't nearly the stuff they have now, but I remember us getting a PlayStation, and he just wanted to stay inside, play the PlayStation. I couldn't convince him for anything to come out and play with me because he just wanted to be in the game. So much so that I had to hide the controller from him sometimes just to get him to come out. I was like, I'll give you the controller back if you just come play Home Run Derby with me for a little bit.
Dude, I was just thinking about this, I think last night, and I was like, did I really used to do this or not? Dude, do you remember, like, so watching TV growing up, the person that had the remote got to pick what you watched, you know, for the most part. And I remember, like, you know, my brother might be laying down watching TV or something, and the remote might be sitting kind of off to the side, and I would just go over there and I would snag the remote. Yeah. Like, I would steal the remote from him. I was like, surely I did not do that. And I was thinking, yeah, you did. Yeah. You definitely did that. And so, like, you had to be cognizant, and at least in our house, of where you put the remote when you were watching something. Either you had to keep it in your hand or put it under you or something like that. I was like, dang, we really used to run around stealing remotes from each other.
Saturday morning, the first one that woke up chose what we were going to watch that day. Yeah. Like, and they held on to the remote. As soon as you left it, you were slagging and you left it there. That's it.
Yes.
Like
you'd carry it with you to the kitchen, to the bathroom, like that. Wherever you had the remote, you were going to take it with you, man. Yeah. That's hilarious. I started thinking about that the other night, and for some reason, I don't know why, and I was like, dang, that's kind of nuts. You know.
So did you play like little dribblers and pee-wee football and all that?
So going into sports, I played t-ball from the moment that I could. I guess 5 years old or whatever, and I loved baseball. My dad loved it, and so it just was kind of bred into us. From a young age, Dad was great. We were really lucky with, Dad. He'd go out there and toss balls to us for as long as we want, as long as he was off. And Dad worked shift work, and so looking back now, I mean, there's probably times where he was so tired, but if we were willing to go play, he was like, "Let's go." And so
that's a good man right there.
Yeah, we were lucky. And so baseball, he would coach t-ball, and then little dribblers I didn't get into until probably fourth grade or so. And then I got into little dribblers. We just played basketball with the neighborhood kids, and I liked it. I just never got into organized basketball until about fourth grade. And then football, my dad wouldn't let me play. He was like, you don't need to play pee-wee football for a number of reasons. Looking back, I didn't like it at first, but because I had some friends that were playing. But
you understand it now, huh?
I understand it. I understand why or what his reasons were, and I would probably feel the same way now. And to be honest with you, it did not affect me one bit for when I did start playing football. He always told us, he's like, no, you're young. You can play football once you get a little older. When you get in seventh grade, when you can play for the school, you can play. Yeah. That's early enough. And so I, begrudgingly probably at first, and then was like, whatever, that's okay. We did get to play flag football. He let us play that, and so we played flag football growing up. Also, soccer was not a popular thing in Groesbeck. Or really small towns, I feel like,
yeah, it wasn't.
And we actually had a guy that came in that started a league. His name was Kyle Parker. I don't know why I remember that. But he kind of helped with a couple other people put a soccer league together in Groesbeck. And it was with, Groesbeck and Bremond and some other small towns. And so for 2 years, I played soccer at about the age of, 11 or 12-ish or something like that. And was shocked at how much I really liked it. Soccer was really fun.
Yeah.
So I played a lot of sports growing up and until we got to be able to play for the school. I was super, super competitive.
Yeah.
I would probably laugh at myself now. Like, I would probably make fun of myself. Like, look at that kid crying because he struck out. Like, I hated not doing well. I hated losing. My dad, if he was coaching, in order to get other kids in the game, he would pull me out. And at the time, I was just thinking, well, you're pulling me out. I don't get to go bad. I don't get to, and he was like, no, there's other kids that need to play too. Mm-hmm. And, you get to play all the time. You're going to have a seat. And so having to learn some of that. But I think if you ask my parents, probably if you ask anybody that knows me, I'm extremely competitive. And it could get borderline annoying. And I've had to really work on that. What about you? Growing up until before you get into middle school, did you grow up playing sports? Were you involved in stuff or was?
So, between the ages of 8 to when do you start playing
middle school is probably around
12? 13?
13-ish.
13? Between 8 and 13, I was just playing football and stuff in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And then finally, I think I was 10 or 11. When's Little League start? Somewhere in that window somewhere.
I mean, you could, I guess, if you're counting T-ball, but then if you're counting kid pitch, stuff, that's, I think, around 10 and 11.
Yeah.
9 and 10. Maybe some of it, but definitely 11 and 12.
So I started playing Little League baseball then, and I had to convince my mom and dad so much to let me play because we grew up really poor. So paying whatever it was, $60, $70 was a lot. So
right.
Yeah, I finally convinced them to do that, and it was fun, but I sucked. I'll be honest. I sucked. And that was because another reason, this is just my background, we grew up really poor. And during that time, I remember I couldn't see the ball. I just couldn't. I needed glasses. But we couldn't afford to go to the eye doctor and do all that. So I just dealt with it. I was just I guess this is how everybody sees. Uh-huh. And I just suck at hitting the ball. But now that I think about it, I was like, man, during that time, I really needed some eyewear. Yeah. And I would probably be hitting the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I say that to say I played Little League baseball at that time, but nothing else. Again, in Cameron, they didn't have soccer. Mm-hmm. I feel like I would like soccer, like my Mexican, I'd probably like it, but we didn't have that. So just played the Little League baseball and then worked my way up. And then in 7th grade, I did start playing football, and my mom was the same way your dad was, as far as the Pee Wee football goes. My mom did not want me to play football. Of course, she doesn't know what football is, but when she sees it in action, she's like, that's dangerous. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And I convinced her, or my dad convinced her to let me play. And my older brother was playing football in high school at this point. So, giving him the okay to play football, they gave me the okay. Mm-hmm. So I started playing football in 7th grade, and at the same time, I think we had track at that time too.
Track and basketball. So in middle school, what did you do? What did you do in middle school?
I didn't play basketball or anything. We're talking about junior high, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So junior high, I played football, ran track.
What'd you run?
All the relays, cuz.
Yeah.
I was so back. I've always been a decent runner. I've just liked running. It's just been something I've been good at. So yeah, in middle school I played football, played running back and linebacker. Loved it, and that goes back to my childhood playing with the older boys and freaking them slamming my head off the ground and doing all that got me tough. So like whenever I started playing football, like it wasn't anything. I was like, oh, I've been playing with boys that are bigger and older than me, so I wasn't scared or anything like that. And then I was running track, and I loved track. Boy, my mom still has the medals,
Really?
my gold medals.
Yeah, make sure that's clear.
Yeah. And then, but I love that. It was a fun time, dude. Just think about like carefree, just go to school, play some sports, go to bed, start all over.
So fun. You ain't gotta worry about bills or anything.
Simpler times.
Very.
You played football too?
Yeah. So middle school, we'll go there. Middle school, I did football. That was the first time I was so excited to be able to finally play, man. And I had always wanted to be, so growing up, I was like, man, I want to be like Emmitt Smith and I want to be a running back or whatever, or Barry Sanders. I just really liked them guys, and I wanted to be running back. And then when that time finally came to be that, I was like, I kind of want to play quarterback. And so I went out for quarterback my 7th grade year. They ended up putting me at running back, and I would work some like slot receiver as well. But they basically just wanted to give me the ball and let me run because I was decently fast, or pretty fast too.
Yeah,
I was fast.
Come on.
And anyway, so I did that, and then I played safety, and then I played basketball in middle school, and then I ran track as well. And then coming back for the 8th grade year, I wanted to play quarterback, and so I went again and ended up playing quarterback. They moved me to that, and it was kind of fun because at that point, my best friends were all offensive linemen. Like, they were just the big guys, so they happened to be put at offensive linemen.
Yeah.
A couple other guys that weren't, but some of my main ones were. And anyways, one of my friends, he was like oddly good at shotgun snaps for an 8th grade kid. Like, he never had bad snaps. And shout out John Edgerly. You would love John takes a lot of pride in being able to snap. Like, as we went into high school, he would be like, where do you want the ball? Boom. And if it was just a little off, like, he would be like, dang it. He'd get pissed and be like, do it again. And he could snap a ball wherever you wanted to put it. Yeah. Anyways, so I got to do a lot of running and throwing in 8th grade, which was a lot of fun. Played basketball again that year, and then ran track. And then my buddies, since they were all offensive linemen, big guys, they asked me to come do shot or disc. And I was like, I can't. Y'all are way stronger than me. I can't throw a shot put as far as some of you big fellas. They were like, well, try discus. Like, it's a little more technical. And so I did, and ended up getting 2nd in district.
Come on.
Yeah, so and it was fun because I got to go practice with my friends, my buddies, because they were all the big guys over there not running and doing anything. They were just throwing stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was a ton of fun. So, I had a good time with that in middle school. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Did you play the same sports in high school?
So going into high school, I played basketball. I did baseball because they had baseball as a school sport. Once you get into high school, they didn't have it in middle school. And then football. I dropped track. I didn't want to run it. Oh, I forgot about this. I also played tennis in middle school. Dude, me and a buddy of mine were pretty good at it. And we're doubles partners. And, dude, tennis, if you haven't played, is so fun. Like, so fun. And so when I got into high school, Groesbeck has a really good tennis program. They basically go to state almost every year.
Wow.
And I remember the coach of the tennis team wanted me to play tennis because he was like, hey, I think you could be really good at this. Problem was, it was right during baseball season, and I had my love for baseball was greater than my love for tennis. And so I was like, hey, man, like, I didn't really have that conversation, but they had kind of asked me, and I was just like, no, I want to play baseball.
Yeah.
So I did that. So and then I dropped track as well because that's during baseball season. And I wasn't like some phenomenal track guy that was going to, do anything necessarily with that anyways. I was fast, but I just didn't care enough about it. So I was like, no, I'm going to do baseball, basketball, football. Yeah. And so those were the sports that I played in high school. Yeah.
I did football, track, and a little bit of baseball. But see, I only played sports up to my junior year. Junior year, I'm going to be honest with you, I started hanging with the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
And was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. I started drinking at that age. Mm-hmm. I started smoking at that age. So my junior year came, and I remember going to football games, high as a kite, boy.
Really?
And yes, and I don't even remember the game, but still crush it though,
Yeah.
decent. But after that junior year, I hit a slump. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I remember my coach, Ryan Mullins, Coach Mullins, coming up to me, and I told him, he's like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you late to practice, or why aren't you giving 100% effort?" I'm like, I don't care about this no more. Yeah, and my mentality too was I want to make some money.
Yeah,
like I'm like, I want a car. Like my parents don't have money to buy me a car. I need to go work and get me this car. So I worked, or I played sports freshman, sophomore, and junior, and then junior just
sat it out.
Sat it out, dude.
Dang.
And I regret that so much to this day. And I tell all the kids that are in that age group, like, hey, enjoy it. Do it right now. Don't let this pass you up, because dude, I miss it. I miss it so much, and it's just the glory days, right? Like,
dude, it was so fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. I mean, even if during the moment it's really difficult, like you look back on it with fondness, because it was like, you went through it with a group of guys, and it builds a bond, and you look back on it and you just really enjoy it. I had a ton of fun playing high school sports, and you were with your buddies.
Yeah.
And most of my buddies played sports, and we all stayed in sports. So I played all 4 years of baseball, basketball, football. I got to, I had a ton of fun. Yeah. It was a blast. So I played quarterback all through high school. I caught my freshman year on varsity because, truth be told, the catcher that was a senior at the time got sent to alternative school, and so they needed a catcher, and the head baseball coach's son played with me in not middle school, all growing up. And so he knew about me, and he was like, "Hey, I'd like you to be the catcher." And so I caught, and then after that, I was a pitcher, shortstop. Yeah. And then basketball. Of those three sports, basketball would be probably what you would consider my worst sport. I could shoot, dribble ball a little bit, but I'm not 6'4", so not gonna have to. I mean, it wasn't my best of those three, but I enjoyed it. I really liked playing, so I played that all 4 years, and then football we did really well, individually as well, and then baseball we were really good. We'd go several rounds deep in the playoffs, and it was just a ton of fun.
Now you played some sports after high school too, right?
Yeah. I so my senior year I was getting recruited to go play football and baseball, and a lot of the football ones were by like D2 schools, 1AA, and I mean there were some Division I schools that had talked to me, but what they were offering wasn't going to be, we're talking like half scholarship, stuff like that. And I really wanted to play Division I. I wanted to play in the big schools. And so my junior year of baseball, I was hurt. And so I didn't get to play much in the field. I got to swing it, and I'd play a little bit, but I didn't get to pitch. And so went to a few camps and got offered for baseball. Ended up going junior college because it felt like that was the best chance for me to develop and then go play Division I. And it was a lot of fun. You talked about like leaving your high school or not playing in high school.
Yeah.
For me, it made me really miss high school sports because I didn't realize how much fun I was having with my friends.
Yeah.
When you go to play in college, which I ended up deciding to go play baseball over football just because I wanted to play D1, and I didn't really want to go. The JUCO route for football wasn't much of an option, and so I went baseball, and it was a job, man. It was completely different than high school. They're paying for your school, and that's you want them to continue to pay for that. You've got to perform, and you've got to work, and you've got to do all these things. And so, waking up for 5 a.m. for weights, or shoot, I didn't know there was 2-a-days in practices for baseball. And before school started, like the actual school year, we would be practicing twice a day. We'd go weights in the morning, practice at 9, come back, and we'd do a shorter practice at 4:30. JUCO, there's less rules than the Division I schools, and so you could get away with that.
Yeah.
And so I just realized how much I did miss my friends and how my mindset wasn't prepared for college and like the type of like job it would be. And looking back, if I could go back, that's what I would do, is I would just approach it differently and be like, hey, then this is a job you want to be successful. You're going to have to put in the work. And I wasn't prepared. Like, I didn't expect it to be that way. And when it was, I was like, whoa, this is kind of nuts. This is different.
Yeah.
And it took some time to kind of get into that. Like, I worked hard, but it was just different.
Yeah. Dude, after high school, life changes. Like, that's why I always tell teens now is like, enjoy that, because you think you're in the real life right now. The real world happens after high school.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the coach ain't there, or like, you're not going to athletics just because you have to or whatever. Like, if you're like competing at the college level, like it's a job, it's work, right? Or if you're not, like, to stay in shape, you have to motivate yourself. Coach ain't there. Like, don't nobody care if you go to Golds or whatever. Like, nobody's gonna be there to push you. So you have to do that on your own. For me, after high school, dude, I let myself go completely. Like, I started drinking, I started partying and all that.
Yeah.
I was so focused on making a living. So I went to school, went to TSTC in Waco, got my degree there, bounced around to Houston, then eventually made it out to Austin, Party City, right? So, like, my fitness took a backseat for sure. At that time, I was 21, just drinking, just not giving a crap about my body.
Yeah.
I didn't really work out at all. Got my heaviest. I got up to 210, dude. I was a big boy.
Plump.
I was thick, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
So dude, for after high school, for a couple years, I would say up till like 23, 24, I got back into working out. I was like, I feel disgusting. I need to stop drinking this dark beer. Not giving a crap about what I eat.
Yeah.
So around 23, 24 is whenever, 23, I would say, is when I started working out again on my own, hitting up the gym, you know, doing stuff like that, running again.
Yeah.
And got back into decent shape. So that was my early 20s. And then my mid 20s, I was just doing the bodybuilding stuff, like going to Golds on my own, lifting and doing some cardio, muscle menos, a little bit on the diet, like doing better. And so, yeah, that was my mid 20s, my life after 20s. And then eventually, I lived in Austin for 8 years, and then I moved out here for work. And I remember this. I used to make fun of CrossFitters.
Oh, everybody has.
Oh, everybody. If they say they don't, they lie.
Yeah.
Because I used to make fun of CrossFitters. I was like, oh, those are the dudes that like do all the weird movements and all that. So I remember moving out here, and I was like, I'm gonna try it. I went and dropped into Obey, and immediately fell in love with it, like the competitiveness of it and all that. And I thought I was in decent shape until I started CrossFit, but I was in decent shape and started doing it. But yeah, dude, that's how my mid 20s up to this point, like, kind of my motivation to work out was on my own. More of a bodybuilding type style training, going into CrossFit.
Yeah.
What about you? What did that mid 20s frame look like?
So I got to credit, if I go back to even high school. So my brother tore his ACL twice. One year, his freshman year, and then also in his sophomore year, his other ACL. And so he had to work really hard to get back from that. And I give him a lot of credit because he was trying to really work his tail off and working out and stuff. And I was more like, a lot of it came natural up until probably my sophomore year, and I noticed him working out, and I was like, hey, I can't have him just being way stronger than me, you know what I'm saying? And so I started working out almost as a thing to be like just to keep up or to stay above him or whatever you want to say. I gotta stay. I gotta keep being stronger than little brother. I gotta stay there.
Yeah.
And so that's why I kind of got into it originally, and then started to fall in love with just exercise and working out. When I got done playing baseball in JUCO, I went to UTA, played, and then when I got done with that, I kind of got into it with a friend, kind of the bodybuilding style. Back and by, chest and try day, then you do your legs.
That's right.
And I was like, okay, I enjoy this, but it takes a lot of time. And so I never really got out of working out or never fell out of shape, just did it differently.
Yeah.
And then I was working in Groesbeck as a coach and a teacher, and my brother was like, hey, I think you might be pretty good at this. You should look into it. Like, I think you'd like it. And I was like, nah, that sounds retarded. Like, that ain't gonna be any good.
Yeah.
And I just don't see how you could do that. And so I didn't do much of it. I remember the first time he got me it was a shirt, and it said Rogue on it. I didn't know what Rogue was. And then it was that Froning shirt that has Galatians 6:14 on the side, and I thought Rogue was some Christian brand. I was like, I don't know what this is. He bought it for my birthday or something. And I'm like, okay, cool, cool shirt.
Yeah.
And we were on vacation, and this was probably when we were, I don't know, 24, 25, I guess, years old. And we were with some friends down at Rockport, and we had gotten a house down there, and we're hanging out, and we were gonna go fishing and whatever. Anyways, my brother comes down, and he's like, hey, you want to work out? And I was like, no, not really, we're on vacation. And he was like, dude, just come on, give me 12 minutes. And I was like, you can't work out in 12 minutes.
12 minutes,
like, what am I going to do in 12 minutes? This is not going to work. And he was like, all right, well, then just give me the 12 minutes. And I was like, fine, okay, what are we going to do? And he had like a 35-pound kettlebell, man. There wasn't much. And he's like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do these 3 movements X number of times, and then I'll go and do them, and then you go and do them. We'll do it for 12 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. So he would go, and I'd stand behind him. And then when he'd done, he'd set the kettlebell down. He'd walk behind me, and I'd be facing the other way. So we'd basically be looking at the back side of each other's head.
Yeah.
And so you move through it a couple times, you're good. By 3 or 4 minutes in, I'm dying. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh,
bamboozled you for sure.
Yeah, he bamboozled me. And so I was like, golly, I can't show weakness. And so like, I would be like dying in the front. Like, if you would have seen my face, just like,
about to pass out.
Yes. And then as soon as I would turn around, I'd just be like, stone cold.
Yeah.
Like, I got this. This ain't, yeah. And then whenever he'd start going, I'd be behind him just heaving and trying to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Got done with that, and I went upstairs and sat down in the recliner or something. And I was like, yeah, good workout. So I sit down. I didn't move for about 30 minutes, and I felt like the whole time I was going to throw up. And I was like, what did I just do? Like, this is different. Like,
CrossFit, baby.
Yeah. And so then it intrigued me. And so when I went back and I was working as a teacher and a coach in Groesbeck, I just kind of was like, okay, I'm going to give this stuff a shot. Like, what is this? People are going to think I look silly because ain't nobody in Groesbeck ever done this stuff.
Yeah.
And ended up doing it, falling in love with it. Had some of the kids and a couple even other adults in town that had still lived there that I knew started to kind of do it with me on occasion. 3 or 4 of us.
Yeah.
And dude, I really enjoyed it. Kind of fell in love with it. And then my brother was wanting to open a gym, and I wasn't sure that I still wanted to teach and coach. He's like, dude, move down here. Let's get this thing rolling. Yeah. And that was in 2013. And so I was like, shoot, all right, here we go.
Let's do this.
And so I moved down here to College Station, Bryan College Station, and we started. The gym was rolling. We were in a garage. Here we go. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got involved with CrossFit.
Yeah.
Was brother kind of challenged me on it, and here we go.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And then you got bit by the bug.
Bit by the bug big time.
Yeah. Fell in love.
Yeah.
Dude, I love when I dropped into Obey, and I never tried CrossFit before. what I liked about it, how it differs for me from bodybuilding, is the competitive side of things and like the functional movement part of it. Like I felt like I was back in high school, like I was gearing back to get ready for like football or something, because the whole bodybuilding, and there's nothing wrong for bodybuilding, right? Yeah. Looking good, looking aesthetic. There's nothing wrong with that. But like if you want to have that athletic mentality and physique, CrossFit's the way to do that, right? Functional movements, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about it. Love that aspect about it too, and just the community more than anything else. I remember just going to Obey, and right off the bat, like them just loving on me as soon as I walked in there, and I was like, dang, this is what CrossFitters do. Because in my mentality, in my mind, I thought you walk into a CrossFit gym and everybody's raw, like get out of here, scrub. and I was like, oh, that's what I thought in my mind, and that's not right. Like I was wrong about that. Like this ain't intimidating at all. Like this is great. Like people are encouraging each other, and fell in love with Obey. Like shout out Cade Wilson and Cody Wilson. Like fell in love with the place, and I've ever since fell in love with CrossFit.
Yeah, I think the community aspect of that, and so much of fitness. You know, you watch when you're younger, you're playing because you got all the energy in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get into high school or whatever, and typically people are doing it because of some sort of sport that they're in: cheerleading, basketball, baseball, football, volleyball, whatever it is. They get into it because of that. And then you get out of high school. Most people don't go play sports after high school. And so they're just like, well, what do I do? And then you got the people that go on to college and play. When they get out of college, they have that experience. Well, what do I do? Of course, then you got some people that go play professionally, and so then it becomes that's their job, right? But at some point, you're likely not going to be playing a sport. I mean, even for professionals, and so then it becomes like, what does fitness look like to you? You know, and I think that's like what you said. You know, bodybuilding's great for people that want to do that. At least you're up and moving.
Yeah.
CrossFit, amazing, and I really am big on the community aspect of it too, because for me, on the days that you don't want to go, but if you can just go up there and hang out and enjoy people, and then you get a workout too, like great, you know, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, whatever it is, there's so many parts of fitness that people don't really even know about or think of as fitness, and then outside of sport, what fitness is going to look like changes. You know, the way, and we've talked about this, the way that we work out at 24 to 28 might look different than when we're 30 or when we get to be 40. Are we going to be doing it the same way? You know, you start to learn, like you learn your body better. You learn like what's good for you and what's not. Like, you know, I'm not going to push it hard today. It's almost like you can kind of start removing your ego from it, right? Like when you're young, it typically feels like that ego is such a hindrance to you. And I'm referring probably more to CrossFit right now, in that you're just going to hammer down, push as hard as you can, go at it. And then as you get older, maybe you tweaked your back or your shoulder or whatever. And it's like, you know what? It's not really worth me hurting something. So I'm going to scale back.
Yeah.
And I really want to be able to do this for a long period of time. And I'm thinking more longevity. So I'm not going to do something that I think is going to hurt me, but I'm still going to get a good workout in.
Yeah.
And I think for me, when I started to see that aspect, especially when you're injured, you can work through injury and do it smartly.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the true like ethos of CrossFit, is when you can remove your ego out of the way and you can look at it in the aspect of, how can I come here for this hour, enjoy people, and move my body consistently, regularly, so that way I can be as healthy as I can be for as long as I can be. I think that's when you start to get the most out of it. I love the competition side of it.
Yeah.
That is near and dear to my heart. It's extremely fun just being so competitive. But for the vast majority of people, they don't necessarily care about that part.
No.
Is this making me better?
Yeah.
You know, as a human. Is this making me healthier? Do I enjoy this? And if you can get that out of that hour, however that is, removing ego, asking the right questions, whatever, I think that is really important.
What I like about it is, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. Just seeing people at different ages, whatever stage in their life, still wanting to work out and still doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
What I tell people that are scared of CrossFit is, if you come to Obey or any kind of gym, you're more than likely going to see somebody in their 40s, 50s working out and doing the same workout. Mm-hmm. Now, are they doing it prescribed? Probably not, but they're getting the same stimulus.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting the exact same feeling in their body that you're going to get at whatever age or whatever level of fitness you're in.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about CrossFit. And I mean, I'm battling injury right now. Like I got some back issues, but I mean, I'm still able to work through it and move, right? And you're right. Like, if you're a competitor and you're training for a competition, that's so much fun to be gearing up for a competition like the BCS Classic or something. It's so much fun if your body's there and your mentality's there, and CrossFit's a good way to do that.
Mm-hmm. I think another thing that it's done too is it's kind of shined a light on the importance of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat like crap and you want to compete at this stuff, like, it's going to show. And more than that, even, like, if you're not taking care of your body and doing the proper mobility and taking rest days and getting the proper sleep, your body's going to tell you. And by tell you, it's probably going to be breaking down.
Yeah.
And things that shouldn't be bothering you or tweaking, they're going to be tweaked or bothering you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, I need some rest. And it's kind of, I've seen more of that. And CrossFit gets a bad rap for people moving like crap a lot. And for me, it's the opposite. I have learned how to move better because of CrossFit. Because I've learned the proper ways to move. Now, when you're in a competition, are you going to move a little bit, try to cut a rep or whatever, or try to do something a little bit faster than you should be for the sake of competing?
Yeah.
Sure. But you're going to get away with whatever the judge will let you.
Yeah.
But in terms of movement, I work with kids at the high school all the time, and, they'll do a push press, and it's almost like an incline, press. They're going way out here, and I'm like, no, man, go straight up, get your head through, and be in a good overhead position. And I've learned that through a lot of CrossFit training and squats, getting to a proper depth, not doing some quarter squat and calling it a good rep, or deadlift or whatever. I've really learned the proper ways to move because I've been involved in this. Are there people that move terrible in CrossFit? 100%. They make me cringe. But for myself, I've really learned the proper ways to move as I got into this.
Yeah.
And it's not the only way to learn the proper ways to move, but for me, that's what has happened.
Yeah.
So.
What I like about CrossFit too is just seeing the progression of somebody from the point they walk into the CrossFit space that have never done it to a year from then, if they do it consistently.
Yeah.
I love seeing that. Prime example of that is whenever I walked into Obey, I remember my very first workout was Fran.
Oh, shoot.
I remember Chris Heyer, shout out. He's like, oh, you're pretty in good shape. Let's do Fran. And I didn't know what the heck that was. And I was like, sure, that's easy. 21:59.
Yeah.
Fine. He's like, pick the right weight. And I was like, what's the right weight? And it's a prescribed weight. He's like, prescribed weight is 95 pounds. I was like, easy money. It took me right under 12 minutes to do it because I rested for like 2-3 minutes between sets. And but fast forward to almost 2 years later, one of my best memories, I would say, in my CrossFit journey is breaking the 3-minute mark on that Fran time.
Yeah.
And that's just like, moving. Like, and that's just the progression of time. And I love to see that in other people.
Oh, yeah.
I love to see that. And dude, like when I'm up there at the gym and I see someone like PR their whatever by a mile or like a big length, I'm like, heck yeah, I love that.
Both physically and mentally, you see people like gaining confidence.
Yeah.
And just the way that they work out. I've seen people come up to the gym and they look nervous as all get out, and it's almost kind of like a whipped pup, like dog that's been beaten too much. They just kind of like this and just waiting for you to tell them the answers of whatever they need to do. To fast forward your year later, they're just up there, they're helping people out, be like, no, hey, this is what you're going to want. This is what they want to see. No, you can do more. You're okay. And it's like, man, that transition of the way their mentality has just completely changed through that year of fitness. It's really cool to watch as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah for sure.
So that's a little bit on the two good dudes, right?
Yeah.
So now the listeners got to get an idea of who we are. So any last words or anything you want to encourage everyone with, or?
Man, I guess in terms of like what you can expect from us, we're going to try to have fun on here. We want to have fun. We want to have a good time. Hopefully that shows through, because I just enjoy talking to you.
Yeah.
And we enjoy a lot of the same things. There will be days where we talk like this, and there may be more specific topics. But there will also be, hopefully, we've got coming down the pipe some really interesting, some really fun guests
That's right.
that I think people will really like, that they'll want to listen to and hear from and learn from.
Yeah.
So I think if fitness or just if you've got some time and you want to be inspired or encouraged, then give us a listen, and we'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Smash that like button. Swipe up to subscribe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Can't wait to see what's to come. Again, we're gonna have some fun guests come in here and have a good old time doing it.
I think this next year is gonna be pretty big for us both.
Coming for you, Joe Rogan.
In life, and then maybe we'll see what podcasting comes out. Right now, we enjoy it, and we'll go with it for as long as we enjoy it. But both personally and professionally. So
come on.
I'm looking forward to the next 12 months.
Sounds good. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
See you
later.